Bottles, empty Gatorade bottles, empty liquor bottles, and often baby oil.
Where did you see baby oil?
On the table, on the floor, on the bed, around the room.
He mentioned that when we were out of the country, that Scott's car would be blown up. He wanted his friends to be there to see it.
While you were employed by Mr. Combs, did you ever observe him using drugs?
Yes.
What kinds of drugs?
Weed, ketamine, cocaine, Molly, E.
How frequently did Mr. Combs do drugs, in your observation?
I would say every day.
Did he do drugs during the day?
He would take Percocets throughout the day.
Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into the ongoing federal trial of one of the biggest names in the music industry, Sean Diddy Combs. The case has already become a media sensation, with explosive testimony and shocking evidence that's challenging the public's perception of the mogul. From drugs and weapons to allegations of abuse and blackmail, the details emerging from this trial are jaw-dropping. In today's video, we'll break down the most significant moments so far, everything from explosive photos presented in court to the personal stories of those closest to Diddy. So stay tuned, because this case is only getting more intense, and we'll cover it all.
Testimony has been explosive in Diddy's federal trial. Evidence presented against the music mogul, including drugs shaped like the face of a former president, are what's trending in true crime. Jurors seeing photos of what was collected during that federal raid of Diddy's Miami home. In these pictures, you can see drugs, guns, lots of baby oil. We know he liked that. Sex toys and high heels. And this is just to name a few of the things. These things were gathered from Diddy's Star Island residence back in March of last year. And more photos of Cassie Ventura with friends were also seen by the jury. There's one in particular, look at this one, with rapper French Montana. Look at her hair. Prosecutors say that her hair was purposely styled that way to cover a facial injury that had happened to her eye. That was something that came up with Cassie when she testified. And we've seen those terrible pictures of her eye being split open, or the brow area of her eye, I should say.
Right off the bat, we see a glimpse of how complicated and dark this case could get as more shocking details surface.
She said because of Diddy beating her. We've seen the beating video, too. So this morning, when we think about all the exhibits that are in so far, there are more to come. What's the most shocking piece of evidence so far that we've seen come in against Diddy? Or the thing we've heard doesn't have to be necessarily a photograph, but what stuns you the most? Hit us up on social media. Let us know. Right now, let's bring in our power panel. We want to ask them. Still with me, former United States Attorney William Ehlenfeld, and want to welcome in the former co-host of the Hot 97 Morning Show, Lisa G. All right, Lisa, start us off, please. The most stunning thing to you that you've seen or heard in this case?
That's a great question, Julie, because everything has been shocking to me. I've known P. Diddy, Sean Combs for decades, I guess 30 years now. And when I see all this evidence, I go,
the photos coming out of the Miami raid are chilling and show just how deeply Diddy's private life may have spiraled.
How did he have time to have this second life? He was running a huge business. And so every little bit of detail has been shocking to me. It's getting to the point where I'm going online and looking at pictures and going like, oh my God, what am I going to see today? Everything from, the baby oil to the burned sports car to the black eye, fat lips. Every little detail has been shocking to me. And so I keep thinking, wow, what are the jurors thinking? They're regular people. They're not attorneys. And so I'm just wondering if all the different layers are adding up in their minds for them to say, wow, he's guilty.
Excellent points, Lisa. Yeah, I'm with you. There's so much. There's so much to think about here. It's hard. It really is. William, you've been in practice for so many years. You've seen so much. I hope you write a book someday. You should. What is the thing that maybe shocks you the most, if there is anything?
Lisa's point about Diddy's double life hits hard. How could someone so famous hide this kind of behavior for so long?
So, like Lisa G said, the pictures of the Porsche automobile, to me, is something that people don't typically see. The average person might see baby oil, might see a gun, they might see prescription pill bottles, but to see evidence that a Molotov cocktail was thrown through the roof of a Porsche automobile is something that most of us don't ever see. And then I would also say collectively, all of this evidence is very powerful for the government. So I'm not shocked that SDNY has all this lined up and ready to go. But the guns are helpful because it shows that he used force and intimidation to keep people like Cassie Ventura in line. The drugs are consistent with the racketeering count and all the drug use and distribution. The overall, the freak-off supplies, all of those pictures corroborate what Cassie and others have said. So it's very powerful. And I think having the guns in the courtroom is also very helpful to the government. Not everyone on that jury owns a gun.
The evidence from the Porsche incident really makes you question the level of violence and intimidation involved in this case.
And so to be able to see that live and in person in the courtroom is also going to be very helpful for the government's case.
Oh, that's a really great point. William, a follow-up on that, please. When you're prosecuting cases, or defending them, and let's say you want to show jurors a firearm for whatever reason, what considerations do you have to make sure you work through when you think about your presentation, how close you're going to get, things like that, so as not to put off any members of the jury who might be by just the sight of the firearm?
You have to be careful. And so the government used an agent yesterday to testify about the gun and to actually have it and hold it. And they have to do it in such a way that obviously it's not pointing at the jury. And I'm sure it had some sort of a locking mechanism on it to make it clear to the jury that no one was going to be harmed by these. But just actually having it in the courtroom and not just having photographs.
The way firearms are handled in court tells you a lot about the stakes in this trial. It's not just about the drugs anymore.
It is a much more powerful way to present the evidence. And so I'm not surprised that the government did it that way. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick on the drug distribution piece, the pill bottles, I think, are also interesting because some of those were prescribed and some of those were illicit drugs. And if I were a doctor who was prescribing to Sean Combs, I'd be a little bit nervous that the government might be coming after me next because I'm not sure that prescribing was proper. But all of it is very interesting to me. It's going to be very helpful to the government. And I think they scored a lot of points by showing those pictures and bringing that evidence into the courtroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely, William. Excellent points. Lisa G., let me go back to you, please. Being someone who's known Diddy for many, many years, he'd come on your show so many times. When he would be on air versus when he would be off air, was there any difference? I'm so curious, as you've worked with so many different personalities and artists, and it's always neat to hear who's really that guy or that woman. What would you say was the case with Diddy?
The pill bottles raise a serious concern about not just personal use, but potential distribution, tying in the racketeering charges.
The same, he would come into the room and it would be like a tornado was following him. He had all this, what I called a negative energy cycle around him like this. And so that has not changed. And I've seen him throughout the years where, yeah, maybe he's a little calmer and very friendly. He's very personable, always taking pictures. So when I'm hearing all this evidence, I'm just in shock that he even had the time to do all this. And also, I felt one of the most compelling days of testimony was with her mother on the stand, where he allegedly tried to blackmail her about the sex tapes, releasing the sex tapes. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, wow, he's done. This is a bad one against him.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm with you. Lisa, thank you so much for reminding us of that. I think that, for me, if I had to weigh in, would be the most shocking thing. Messing with Cassie's mom and dad and these people, who have nothing to do with her relationship with Diddy. And for anybody who missed it, basically the testimony from Regina Ventura was that Diddy...
Lisa's personal experience with Diddy adds an eerie layer to the case. It's one thing to hear about it, but to know him personally changes everything.
Goes to her, says, you owe me $20,000 because of the money I spent on your daughter. Pay up or else I'll release these sex tapes of your child. And she and her husband took out a home equity loan to pay it. And then after it was wire transferred through Diddy's bookkeeper, she said it was returned days later. William, I want you to make the final point for us in terms of what, if any, predicate crimes for the racketeering conspiracy might we have there?
Your question is as to what predicate crimes still need to be proven?
I mean, like, does Cassie's mom's testimony help establish blackmail or extortion or things that would help support count one?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a big piece of the racketeering count is the bribery, the force, the intimidation. And that is a key piece to it. I think the government's going to hammer that home.
The blackmail story here is huge. It really shows the manipulative and controlling behavior that could back up the racketeering charge. Williams' point about the devices is key. If the government has digital evidence, it could be the smoking gun this case needs.
When they do their closing arguments. And I think you're going to see more of that. And the other thing that we haven't heard much of is what they found on the computers and the cell phones and all of the forensic analysis of those devices. I think there are some smoking guns to come from the government in the week to come.
Oh, most definitely. Well, I can't wait to have you both back. Hopefully next week, if you're free to talk more about the developments as this case continues progressing. William Ehlenfeld, Lisa G., thank you both so much. Have a wonderful holiday weekend.